about Europe? Well, if we don't care about Europe, we don't care about the U.S. Because if Europe goes down, we're going down. There's no way we survive anything like that if we don't support countries like Europe, or not countries like Europe, but yeah, countries in Europe.
But some people talk about Ukraine, and they go as far as back as I want to say the year 1990, where basically America, like all the signs points towards that America did their little regime change tactics with the CIA there, and America has just kind of influenced the separation of Ukraine and Russia historically, and they've always pushed for them to be a part of NATO. Do you not think that we have somewhat uh, provoked Russia to feel the need to use aggression towards Ukraine again?
No, so like we had a agreement with Russia. So the Soviet Union fell apart for a reason, and the Eastern European countries wanted to leave the Soviet Union and get away from Russia because Russia's a brutal dictatorship. They always followed a dictatorship. It's a terrible place to live. I don't know if it's the weather or what, but they always followed dictatorships and depression. Um, you know, Ukraine wanted to get away from Russia even more because obviously in Russia you can't even live without supporting the dictator, or you get killed and tortured. There's re-education camps for kids. They steal kids from other countries. They've stolen Ukrainian kids and re-educated them, and like it's insane. They sell the kids. It's freaking crazy stuff. In the 90s, most of the Soviet Union's nukes were still in Ukraine, and Ukraine had those nukes. And the U.S. and Russia and Ukraine, and I think like a couple other facilitating countries, agreed to denuclearize Ukraine if we supported them and provided aid. And Russia has made multiple deals recognizing NATO expansion in like 1997, and multiple ceasefires and multiple security agreements and multiple trade deals and a bunch of different things Russia has signed on to. Russia invading Ukraine violates yet another ceasefire that was signed in 2019. So like Russia has violated every single deal. Russia, like these countries are trying to run away from Russia for a reason because they're terrible. It doesn't need to be a USA-backed coup. The revolutions in Eastern European countries, like the Ukrainian Revolution, there were a couple in the 2000s, and they are very, very real. The people there wanted to get away from Russia for a good reason. That's why so many Ukrainians today do not want to go join Russia. And that's why they're fighting so hard, because they know what it means. If we just say, okay, stop the war, we want peace in Ukraine, we want the people to stop dying, like the people who are actually fighting this war just want support. Ukraine has asked for nothing but ammunition. And the idea that like we can go and have Ukraine defending itself and we could support them in defending themselves. We have the deal we made with them to defend them if they got rid of their nukes. The fact that we have this perfect opportunity that's perfect for humanitarian reasons, that's good for military reasons against Russia, which is one of our biggest historical adversaries. It's good for freedom in general. Like the NATO arguments make no sense at all. NATO never aggressed upon Russia. Russia has only aggressed upon NATO. And right now, currently
Mhm.
6 NATO countries border Russia already. So the idea that NATO can't touch Russia's borders or they're going to attack 6 NATO countries already border Russia. So that's also not really it's a historical argument. Like we never made any deals with Russia. There was never a deal with Russia to not expand NATO. I know a lot of commentators like Candace Owens repeat that lie. But there was never a deal
Mhm.
about that. In fact, Russia, and you can look this up, it was like the NATO expansion talks or whatever in like 1997, where Russia agreed to recognize that NATO would expand. But Putin throws every deal out. They're not trustworthy at all, which is insane. Makes it even more insane why Trump is so willing to trust them with everything.
Hmm. Interesting. So, but you don't, you like, why do you think it's, I can understand humanitarian things, right, to some degree, a very limited degree, not because I don't agree necessarily, but because just like we talk about, Trump deporting brown people basically because they are brown and he wants to humiliate them and this, that, and the third, we don't necessarily pay the same attention to humanitarian crises in other parts of the world where they affect more brown people. We don't like there's other, the Black Holocaust in Africa was much larger than any other Holocaust on the planet, But as a country, we don't pay that any mind. We don't acknowledge that, number one, because our country was involved in it. But I kind of wonder, you know, why. See, I can understand a little bit more of. Well, I can't even really understand being on the side of Israel.
Well,
Israel is kind of complete bullshit.
that's actually funny you brought
But
them up. Yeah.
But why do you think it's America's job to drive a wedge between Ukraine and Russia? Like, why, if Russia wants them and historically has had them, or even if they're, somewhat, like, even so, what's the idea that they're going to attack Poland after they take Ukraine? Is that really necessarily true? Like,
I don't see why
why
not.
do
We
you
said
think
that
this is
about
so
Germany
important?
too. That's exactly what we said about Germany when we gave them parts of Czechoslovakia. They said that Czechoslovakia and Poland were ethnically German, just like Russia says Ukraine is ethnically Russian, and that
Hmm.
we need to give Nazi Germany parts of these countries because if we give them these areas they're making arguments for and they want to overpower, then they'll stop pushing. We always do that. Appeasement never works in these situations, and it's not about like us policing the world. In fact, this is us just like basically. That's why I said before, like we're not risking U.S. troops. All Ukraine needs is support, and fighting for free countries to stay free and international law being a thing keeps the entire globe stable. It keeps the economy stable. It keeps trade stable. It keeps everything more stable, in general. And like I would say, it also just looking at college students. In the 80s, with apartheid South Africa, college students were the ones to push for divestment from South Africa in the same way they're pushing for divestment from Israel today. College students were also the ones leading the Vietnam protest, and many students got gunned down while protesting Vietnam. College students led the civil rights protests. So college students have their finger on the pulse of a lot of things in America, and historically have been very, very right about things. I don't think any and Iraq, I don't think any, or Afghanistan, and we look at what college students have protested. They've been pretty right on a number of, Vietnam. I don't think people like that. Iraq, Afghanistan. I don't think people really like that. Apartheid South Africa. I mean, I know Elon Musk and Trump like that because they want to like help support. They want to help support the people that did the apartheid in South Africa today. They actually are really supportive of apartheid, apparently. But like, yeah, I
Hmm.
think college students have been on the right side of history for all these movements, and we don't give them enough credit for being on the right side. And during all these periods, including the 1960s, like college students were there fighting for equal rights. And the same people right now that want to shout us down about freaking Ukraine and about BLM and about DEI, the same people were advocating for MLK to be hung back then. And I know they don't think they have that ideology, but put them back then, they would definitely be advocating for segregated bathrooms and stuff. So just like we have to look at where we are today. It's not just it's not just what's beneficial for the entire. And I know I'm kind of all over the place with this, but because that's a totally different topic. But yeah, with Ukraine, it benefits us to support them because keeping the world more stable, safer, supporting our allies, the entire world is connected, and making it clear if you're a country, if you want to violate international law, there's going to be huge pushback globally, and that's how we ended things like apartheid South Africa. Is we started getting
Yeah,
enough pressure to divest from them, and they became economically crippled. They had to change. They had no choice.
yeah. I could kind of see the part where if you violate international law, there's going to be
I didn't
pushback,
know about
and
this.
I kind of wonder
Apparently,
why.
no, there's a
Huh?
law. It's the Comprehensive Anti-Apartheid Act. A Comprehensive
Hmm.
Anti-Apartheid Act. Ronald Reagan vetoed it, claiming it would hurt Black South Africans and favor constructive engagement. But Congress overrode Reagan. I did not know that Congress overrode Reagan. That's a big move to override a veto. I did not know that happened. That's really interesting. 1986 when Reagan already had dementia. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I could kind of see where you talk about the world pushing back against a country that's violating international law, but I always kind of wondered, why it seems like the world court is so weak. You know what I mean? Because there's warrants for multiple people for Putin and for Netanyahu or whatever, however you say his name. But will those ever even come into any type of fruition? Probably not. You
Not
know.
unless if things go really bad. Like if we had a new world war, then at the end of the world war, then whoever wins punishes the losing side. And that's what happened after with all the trials. After obviously World War II, and holding the Nazi Party accountable and members of the Nazi Party accountable. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because whoever has all the power right now, like America right now, you're not allowed to speak against certain countries, or they're gonna jail you apparently, or deport you if you have a green card. And they're setting the stage. They always start off with groups that people don't like, so they're gonna take these visa students who are maybe Muslim from wherever, Turkey, maybe their families from Yemen or even Palestine, any country in like the Middle East, anywhere around there. They're going to take these students because they know the general public in the U.S. does not support them. They're Muslim, they're not white. They probably speak multiple languages. They advocate for Palestinians, and they're going to say, oh, they're pro-terrorist. And this is how they test it. They test right now. They're testing the American people right now to see if we're going to stand for the basic values of freedom of speech. And they're being proven right so far that not enough Americans are pushing back. And libertarians right now that are not pushing back are insane. They're just proving they're gutless. They have no actual principles. They don't give a shit about freedom in America. And there's a reason they're going after these groups. If they go after American citizens, I guarantee you it's going to be someone who's not white. It's going to be someone who looks like an immigrant. They're going to claim it's not really a citizen, or they're going to be Muslim or whatever. I mean, Trump ran on a Muslim ban. Trump ran on a Muslim ban. He literally ran on dividing us by race. Like, Trump ran on dividing us by race, but all supporters want to walk around like, I didn't know that. Obama made us racist. Like, literally, Trump ran on racial division. He literally ran on that. He opened with Mexicans rape people, Muslims bomb people. Let's ban them both. Let's get them out of our country. And he's not even talking about the wall anymore. You know why Trump doesn't talk about the damn wall anymore? He doesn't talk about the damn wall because the wall would require that dumbass doing something. The wall requires something to actually be built. He stopped talking about the wall because he wants to use executive power because he's not a real leader. He can get any power or influence through Congress. Because if he talks about the wall, they can see his dumbass isn't really building shit. So that's why he doesn't talk about who talks about the wall anymore? No one talks about the damn wall. Apparently, it's not necessary anymore if we have the police state.
That's true. We have a police state. That's funny. So there was something you said. Well, first off, it has something to do with, like Palestinian students and stuff like that. And I'm kind of drawing a blank because I had an important question or whatever. But, I remember part of it. So you said something about them testing to see if Americans will stand up for the basic, freedom of speech. But if they're really attacking, I mean, everybody accuses everybody of attacking each other for, or attacking Americans, are attacking their rights as Americans, which I think that's inherently American to do. And I think that helps to preserve the rights, even if the rights aren't genuinely being attacked. But just because you said that, right, I wonder, do you really believe that, especially in light that the right, conservatives, Republicans do so much to preserve Americans' rights to bear arms, and they even seek to expand those rights? Like, a lot of those gun people's beliefs, they always say, like, they even believe felons should be able to own weapons. And they're not saying just get their rights back, but they don't believe that the rights should ever be infringed upon. So, in reality, if you take 1 million men and you said you don't have the right to speak against me, but you do have the right to protect yourself, even with even more dangerous weapons, they want to legalize machine guns, essentially, right?
Well, Trump is for red flag laws. He's for taking guns away. He already was I think Trump advocated for more aggressive, authoritarian gun legislation than Biden did, because the red flag laws require no court hearing. It requires no actual process. It requires just the police getting a call that you're gonna I don't know, be violent to someone else. Like, the red flag laws are much more infringing on the Second Amendment, in my opinion, than basic background checks or whatever that some Democrats want. The way it works though is if you this is the crazy part. the people who have most of the guns, the people who have the guns are going to be more conservative. But also, the Second Amendment does not protect us from the police state. We don't have actual militias. We do not have regulated militias. We don't
We
have
do
that.
have militias.
But we don't have regulated militias that would stand up to an authoritarian government. They're more likely to join it. That happened in Nazi Germany too. The militias joined Nazi Germany.
That's
But like
kind of that might be
that
true,
that
but
objectively did
regulated
happen.
only means trained.
Okay, well, I'm
The
just
reason
saying
why I say that might be
we do not have
trained
well
is-
trained.
I mean,
The
that might be
U.S.
true.
military and CIA and all these agencies, all the intelligence apparatus, like whatever the word is for apparatuses, it's not that apparati. I don't even know. But they would there's the Second Amendment is not a threat to power. A threat to power is an educated populace, and that's why they're against education. That's why they don't like education. That's why they're going to silence speech
America
first.
got their ass kicked in Afghanistan, and it's a lot of people say that people in Afghanistan, a lot of them are kind of dumb, like they don't have many geniuses per se in Afghanistan. But you know, like the military guys, they say they got their asses whooped by dudes running around in flip flops and towels on their heads.
Well, we learned that lesson in
AK-47.
Vietnam too. Like and like in all these wars, of course, is going to be really bad. But as far as like the U.S. government right now and the Second Amendment being a threat to them being in power, that's not going to happen. The big threats to people are economic. It's sanctions. Trump's putting sanctions on lawyers that disagree with him. It's an entire authoritarian corruption of the government. That's the big threat to American democracy. I feel like we focus on all the, we focus on more of the optical stuff with these administrations, but like the legal precedent they're trying to set right now, and the real way Nazi Germany fell, by the way.
So you think gun rights is just an optical situation? You think it's just about visuals?
No, I think it's
'cause, like,
about
look
people
at
wanting to feel like they have
inflation,
security
right?
in their own hands. I'm not against Second Amendment, by the way, but I just don't think that's the number one
Yeah.
deterrent from freedom. Because if you think about it this way, okay, if you have an uneducated population that believes whatever shit they hear on Fox News, who the hell are they going to use those guns against? And people are right, guns don't kill people, but if people believe bullshit, they do kill people. Whether it's through
Right.
diseases, whether it's through guns. So if you can convince people to take up arms against their neighbors, which is what they're doing successfully, they're much more likely to go to war with their neighbors than they are against the people in power. And that is not going to save anyone, except it's going to cause more division, cause more war, cause more violence. If anything, having guns and thinking guns protect freedom is making us more susceptible to authoritarianism because no one's really protecting the fundamental values that matter when it comes to protecting freedom. And that is things like due process. That is protecting freedom of speech for people you don't like. That is all these core fundamental things about society that we really need to make sure we protect to really stand for freedom. But everyone in America wants to think, oh, I have my gun, therefore I'm going to stay free. Bro, if they want to get your ass, they're getting your ass, bro. Okay, fight 25 federal agents, bro. I don't even know. Like, I don't know what you think is going to happen. Do you think they're just going to like slide in your house and make a bunch of noise and I don't like you're in a Call of Duty game? Like Jesus, what do you think you're going to do, G.I. Joe?
I mean, you have a point when you say that, but that's really besides the point because it's more so when you talk about the well-regulated militias or just in general, if there's a mass group of people that go against the American government in theory, I mean, do they have to probably be in some sort of shape and have some level of training? Sure. Now, what I will say about the militias, I don't have a ton of knowledge, but here in my state, Missouri, there is a Missouri militia, and I don't know how well they train, but they even have tier 1 guys training them.
I'm sorry, but they have
what I would
drones, bro.
say-
They have quadcopters with guns on them. They have actual drones that could bomb. They don't even need to come near your house. They have robot dogs that have flamethrowers. Like
They got
we are in
F-35,
RoboCop, bro.
F-22s, but
We're
are
in
they gonna
RoboCop.
use them?
Unless if people got EMPs. But all I'm saying is for them to use those, like what matters is freedom of speech. What matters is educated populace. Because if we don't have education, we're going to lead ourselves to a situation where AIs takes over and robots take over, and we don't design a system that really benefits the American people because we think all that matters is crying about DEI and having our guns on us, and that is not what's going to protect. It's not going to protect freedom. It's just not gonna. And we're advocating for these policies now that sell off our entire government to the ultra wealthy because they could just tell us to yell at each other and hate each other.
Well, one part about the militias I do agree with you is I know that at least the recruiters for the Missouri militia, they definitely seem to be big Trump supporters.
Yeah, they would join them. They would join the damn government if they want to go kill the liberals. They would join the government. They would not be fighting against the government. Like, that's why our founding fathers really had it locked down. They had positive freedoms and negative freedoms. They had freedoms from government and freedoms by government. And we all have to participate in that, because if we lead to anarchy or some type of weird police state, like Trump pardoned all the January 6 people. Trump knew what he was doing when he pardoned the January 6 people that beat the shit out of cops. And he wants to give them a compensation fund. He wants to give January 6 people that killed police officers reparations. And if you say that we should give black people reparations after slavery, then it's like, oh, you're a liberal. But it's like Trump could literally say the most outrageous shit and never be held accountable for it. It's wild. Even for law enforcement.
That, though, low-key. He almost said, you would have thought, I mean, you wouldn't think it because it's fucking Trump. But in his inauguration speech, he said something about giving black people credit for building America and all this shit. And that's kind of a lot to say, like coming from a wealthy, old, white male, from America that is looked upon as racist and bigoted and just bigoted towards an amazing, pretty much all groups except for old, wealthy white men, basically. Because he even trashes the old, wealthy white women.
Southern kindness, though. Southern kindness. I know people that'll be like, oh, man, black people went through a lot in this country. Then we'll go to we'll go to eat out at a KFC, and a van will pull up with black people, and it's like, oh, they're here. And, wow, they're actually not violent for once. Like, the same people say that shit, too. It's like, bro, I don't give a shit. You can hang out with Oprah and Snoop Dogg, but, it's because they're rich. If they were not rich, you just know this one's safe. That's what he would say. And that's how he acts, because he says, I know you're a criminal by looking at you, just like he knew the Central Park 5 are criminals, apparently. That he had to dump money in the newspaper for. So it's like, that's the real. I guess you could say all the nice shit about black people you want, but you could really be just about supremacy. And in the truest sense of the word, I don't even think Trump gives a shit about race. He does not give a shit about race. He doesn't give a shit about gender. He gives a shit about Donald Trump. He gives a shit about him being. He says all the time, I have good genes. I make a lot of money for a reason. You're born into wealth, and you were you bought your way through college. You could barely read, and you graduate from an Ivy League school because of your legacy admissions. But talk about DEI and affirmative action. Oh my God, affirmative inaction. It's crazy. But we look at that, you could say all this crazy stuff and not back it up with your actions, and that's when it really matters. It doesn't matter about being racist when it comes to being nice to one black person or saying something about black people. It comes to when you see a black person in a position where you see black communities being poor because of the effects of slavery, and you think, oh, slavery's gone because we made slavery illegal, all this shit's gone. And that person's grandfather had to go piss in the black stall, or the black bathroom. Their grandfather couldn't go to school with white people. We have black people whose grandfathers couldn't go to school with white people, and then you have white people whose grandfathers were trying to hang black people. And then we all come together 20 years later, racism solved, guys. We can't talk about race again. Oh, actually, Obama's the reason we're racist. It's like, oh, yeah. Blame seeing a black guy. I saw a black guy be president. I had to be really? You had to be racist after seeing that shit? It's just crazy. It's just crazy the mental gymnastics people will do. And I think the far left does not help when it comes to talking about race issues, for sure. Trying to guilt white people, trying to say white privilege and you should feel sorry for what your people did or whatever. That's not helpful either. But we need to be able to have these tough conversations because it really does matter. And the racism kicks in when you see black communities and going through systemic issues and look at redlining, look at slavery, look at the lack of generational wealth. Are you going to say, we should be helping communities, black people by the nature of just being black in America? We're considered to be subhuman or less than human or 3/5 of a human or barely even considered a man. You called boy by Southern, especially now they're still called boy by a lot of Confederate soldiers today. The Facebook Confederate soldiers, not the gay ones, but the new gay ones, because they're all kind of closeted. When you see those black people, do you say oh, look at those thugs who listen to rap music, or do you say yeah, I understand what happened, I understand why the crime rate's higher, and here's how we fix it? That's the real conversation where you can see where this prejudice is.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a very knowledgeable person. Sounds like it. So.
Thank you.
Yeah,
this is good discussion.
Yeah, I enjoy your show, but I'll let you go ahead and continue your show, and I'll keep watching.
I appreciate it. Someone said you're the only one I hear saying this dumb racist crap. Yeah, because when Trump says it, his dick is in your ears. You can't hear shit. Like you're gargling too much. Like I don't even know. I don't know what to tell you, bro. If you're tapped out for any
Yeah.
conversation that'll hurt your feelings, I don't understand why you listen to me say it when you don't listen to your own side say it. Like I want people to come together from all backgrounds, but you just want to hate other people because that's all you got. You can't build shit. Yeah, thank you for the call.
Yep, yep. Have a good one.
All right, have a good one, man. Thank you for watching. PDS sending you off topic. Easy, beta boy. Oh, can you make an actual comment other than a three-word slogan? You're probably an AI bot from India anyway. Like, I don't know why I would listen to your dumbass account. Like, if you're not an AI bot, you better find an AI bot because you'll probably sound smarter. Holy shit. Can someone please call me? Call the number on the screen. I'm on one right now. Who's this guy? No, I'm not talking to that guy. No, no, no. Not talking to that guy. You honestly talk about the same old talking points as Democrat. Oh, let me talk about black people. DEI, DEI, oh, pronouns. I cry when I hear pronouns, bro. What's a policy? I don't know what a policy is. I just know Daddy Trump's gonna lead me to salvation. Like, do you really want to go there? You want me to mention a pronoun so you bitch about that for 25 hours? Pronouns are so upsetting to me. I'm not gonna. I'll tell you what. When I said don't tread on me, when I said don't tread on me, you can take my Social Security. You could take my country. You could take the VA. You could take Medicare, Medicaid. You could take all that stuff. When I said don't tread on me, I said don't say pronouns around me because I will piss my pants and cry. That's what you are. Adam is gay and for Trump. I don't think that's true. That's right. Trump's your daddy, white boy. Thank you. Plenty of black people have killed/hurt white people. Why do their white kids have to have right to be racist? Did I mention white people and black people? No, I mentioned the U.S. government. The U.S. government held black people as subhuman and did not allow black people to even live until like the 70s, maybe 80s, maybe 90s. That's the point. It's the government, not your little dipshit one-on-one battles with your comment section.
To accept, press.
Hello.
Hey, is it Jolah?
Yes, it is. What's up?
Hey, man, I was watching your stream, and I just want to debate a little bit.
Okay, I'm a master debater, so you better watch out.
All right. So I just wanted to argue really quick. I disagree with your viewpoints on the Second Amendment. And my argument for that is the safest places that we have in the United States are usually the ones with the most legal gun owners in them. And at the moment, I can only cite one place as evidence for that.
One place.
Yeah. Would you like to know what it is?
What?
It's Kennesaw. It's a town called Kennesaw, Georgia. I'm sorry. It's a town called Kennesaw that's located in Georgia.
But just in general with the actual data, there's a lot more. Like children live a lot shorter lifespans in areas with high gun ownership. The crime rate is higher. Even legal gun ownership, there are more fatalities and an argument between neighbors escalates more to where someone gets shot. Having something like concealed carry permits being a thing instead of just like no permit open carry decreases a lot of violence. I don't know where you got the stats that having more guns leads to less violence. It's usually the opposite.
I didn't say I wanted to correct the terminology here. When we say you just finished saying that having more guns means a safer environment, but that's not what I said. I said having more illegal gun owners creates a safer environment. And my argument for that is somebody who is a threat to others in society isn't going to do something in a place that's full of people who are actually armed.
That's not true at all, because
So
if that was the case, there'd be no violence or any crime in cities as well. But like the idea that like it keeps people honest in like Alaska, for example, Alaska has extremely high crime rates. A lot less people live there. But the top firearm mortality rates for firearm mortality. Number one is Mississippi. Number two is Louisiana. Number three is New Mexico. Number four, Wyoming. Number five, Alabama. Number six, Montana. And this is per 100,000 people. Seven, Alaska. Eight, Arkansas. Nine, Missouri. 10, Tennessee. Let me see the actual list. But all the red states have much higher rates of overall violent crime, and people die a lot younger in red states.
I
I'm trying to get
disagree.
to a blue state. The closest
I
blue state
disagree with that.
is let me see.
I
Well, you could
disagree
disagree
with
with
that.
the data. You could disagree with the data, but you're still wrong about like the reality.
Well, you say blue. Okay, you say blue states have less, but the problem is it's blue cities that have the highest crime rates in America.
I just feel like you're not going off of like the world. You're going off of vibes a little bit.
No, I'm not. You can literally Google this up. Minneapolis, Cincinnati,
Yeah, but like
Chicago. Chicago is
even
labeled as
Republican cities have
trending.
really high crime rates though. They have higher crime rates than blue cities do. But Republicans usually don't win in cities.
What does this have to, what does being safe have to do with the
No, I mean cities in general
election?
are more dangerous. It's not a party thing for all these areas. It's usually correlated with crime. A lot of people in one area. If there's a lot of poor people in one area, you're gonna have more crime. Usually correlated more with poverty. Even rural areas, poor rural areas that are all white have really high crime rates as well. Really depends like what the mix of the different factors is. And I'm just saying in general, the states matter because the gun laws vary by state mostly. But the blue states' gun laws produce almost half the gun deaths than red states.
So,
And
okay.
mortality rate in these states, by the way, blue states on average, if you live in a blue state, you probably live 5 to 7 years longer than if you live in a red state. People in blue states live much longer than people in red states do.
I would question the data on that because the mortality of people depends on many factors. You
I
like it's
agree.
not you're not just going to blame the mortality rates of a single place only on gun violence.
No.
You
I'm not
know,
saying gun violence. I'm saying like in general democratic policy. So like for example, democratic states regulate cancer-causing chemicals more. So if a company is putting cancerous chemicals, carcinogens, into the air, they regulate those companies. They regulate cancer-causing chemicals in the water. So in democratic voting states, the average life expectancy is 78 years. In Republican voting states, it's 75.5 years. So in blue states, you live 3 years more on average, which is a lot of years. And that's because there's better medical systems. They fund things like Medicaid. They have more regulations on how clean the water and air is. And also the
well,
firearms do play a role into that
hold on.
number.
We're getting off topic here because my argument was about guns specifically.
Well, I
We
just said the areas with
contributing
more
to
guns have more
the
violence. The areas with more guns have more violence and more violent crimes. And the blue cities that you talk about,
but
they
that's
have
not
more
true.
guns. So yeah, more guns means more crime and
But
more violence.
Kennesaw, Georgia has proved that that's not true because Kennesaw, Georgia is actually labeled as the safest town, as the safest
I'm
place to live
sorry. Okay,
in
but
Georgia.
okay, I have to ask you something. I'll try not to just tell you it. But if we have like let's say 99%, okay, 99% of cases say one thing. And if we find one town where your point is true, would I listen to the one exception or the 99.9% rule of what like most areas experience? And what's the town name again? Kennesaw.
Well, I would probably examine what's working in the correct example. That's what I would focus on. I wouldn't focus on trying to piggyback on the majority rules here, because like let's take it like this, right? You have a family, right? And then a bunch of squatters come in and try to invade your house. What are you going to do?
That doesn't affect the overall crime rates.
But if you had a gun, if you had a rifle, you could have a better chance of protecting your family against the squatters.
But if
Do
we
you
have
know?
Medicaid and Medicare, we have less of a chance to be robbed because more people are going to be getting health care and mental health services. So that's why blue states have lower rates of crime and blue
What
states in
makes
total.
what makes you think that criminals care about Medicaid and mental health services?
Cause not everyone is destined to be a criminal. Many people that do crime are either from very distorted backgrounds that have mental illnesses, or they're doing it out of desperation. There's a whole host of reasons people get into crime that is not just them wanting to be into crime. A lot of lack of opportunity, a lot of different things, and we do see that if people are there's a reason. Let me find something real quick. Let me see. Do crime for upper middle class versus.
I mean, I'm watching your stream live right now, but I can't hear it, but I can see what's going on. If you want to put up something on your screen and you want to show it, you can. I'm all
So
for that.
the crime rate for those in poverty is like 3 times higher than those from high income households, and even if you are lower middle class versus upper middle class, the crime rate is extremely higher for upper middle class. So the more stresses in life, the higher rates of criminal cases, especially criminal violence. And it's just like if you have a better structure for the bottom of your society, you have a more comprehensive approach to dealing with crime rather than just thinking about guns and over policing, which actually leads to more crime. Like better social services lead to less crime. Better social workers lead to less crime. And by
But
the way, I would never say
mhm,
like, oh, we should replace police with social workers, but you need to add police and add social workers at the same time. And the social workers would not be responding to calls, but they would be working with people and working with kids, especially because you could tell if someone's going to be a criminal by a lot of their actions, as a lot of the positions they grow up in as children. If they don't have a good household or a host of factors like childcare can help reduce the crime rate as well. Education can reduce the crime rate as well. And all I mean by that is we'd rather a society where people don't even try to break in your house, so we can support people rather than just betting on you having a firearm in your household.
Kennesaw, Georgia is not a rich people place. You
But it's
know,
one place. Okay, but you're bringing up one town in America which is like an outlier. Like that, you could have one place in America defy the rule. But I'm saying when you look at every town in America, what you're saying right now is not true. Like maybe in this one town they get lucky and there's like, I don't know, there's a good, um, I don't know, they just got lucky to have a nice area. But it's not determinant of the entire world. On like
okay.
Alaska
So
has
Joe,
extremely high crime rate and they have a lot of guns.
hold on, Joe.
They don't really have law enforcement in Alaska.
Hold on, Joe. Take a moment right now and try to think about how many legal gun owners actually committed violence that was not self-defense.
So I live in a rural area. I know tons of people that use guns against their wives, 100%. Maybe not actually following through with it, but definitely to threaten them. I know people that stole guns from other gun owners, to do crimes, broke into gun cabinets. I know tons of people in rural America that have committed crimes with guns, and most of it is domestic violence, which is, they talk about the boyfriend loophole or whatever. But yeah, a lot of it is domestic violence. I know tons of people with guns that do it, or they hurt themselves, or they do stuff that's close to hurting people because accidental. They get drunk a lot and they shoot guns at stuff, because they want to have fun and they ride their four wheelers out and get drunk and shoot at shit. So yeah, I know a lot of people that have done things with guns, but still, I still would refer to data versus my personal experience.
Hmm. All right, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, you're allowed to have that opinion. I'm not gonna take that away from you. And likewise, I'm allowed to have mine. But
And in the data, there's no relationship I can find between home invasions and gun ownership. So areas with high gun ownership have the same amount of home invasions, or maybe even more than areas without gun ownership. It really does, like the having the entire society be more strong or stronger seems to be the stronger thing that predicts like crime. Not really. It's like the death penalty too. Like the the death penalty does not deter crime at all. In fact, having the death penalty, states that have the death penalty have higher rates of crime than those that don't, because the death penalty does not deter crime. But people think it does because it seems like it would. It just like common sense says having a gun or the death penalty would decrease crime, but it never. It just does not bear out in the data because human psychology is really complex.
I disagree with you. I think I've seen some data in the past that did show that there is a good correlation with less crime in areas where people are actually armed, you know. But when I say armed, I mean that legally armed, not illegally armed. So you look at some place like Cincinnati, for example, or let's just take Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a predominantly low-income place. You know, you have a lot of drug addicts too. And there's also going to be a lot of violence in those areas, particularly illegal gun violence. But in areas where you have more rural areas where you have houses that have legal gun owners, criminals tend to be killed in those areas, and they get on the news. There's more news reports about people using guns for self-defense than there are about people using guns for actual crime. But I don't like. Maybe you're right. You know, maybe you're right.
Let's
Maybe you're
see.
right.
Police shootings and home protection is similar in rural and urban areas. The reason urban areas usually look worse is because it's a bunch of people in one spot. So like like in New York City, for example, there's plenty of rural communities that are more dangerous than New York City. But New York City seems really scary because it's a city. The crimes are usually louder if it happens, and it's all people grouped into one area. So it's just really hard. Like people right now, it's hard for some people to rationalize what the facts are about these things. Like one big example I bring up is people would rather drive than take a subway, like in New York. And taking the subway in New York is like 50 times safer, maybe 100 times safer than driving. But the subway is in the media, and people believe the subway is dangerous because the news stories are super scary. And I know everyone in the comments is going to say the subway is where you get pushed on the train tracks. The chances you die in a car crash are so much higher. It's insane how much higher it is. And it's just like one of those things where it makes common sense in your brains, but it doesn't really make the community safer. Now, that is not to say, for example, I would never say like that's a reason for getting rid of gun ownership, because I do support the Second Amendment. But I would say that it's an argument for increasing our social programs and our ability to support kids who are developing, because kids falling off and not having a good home and not having any leadership or role models and having underfunded education, that's a reason kids become criminals eventually. There are mental health reasons that are never solved, especially in these poor areas, especially in cities, especially for Black people, that never deals with the mental health considerations that you can catch at a young age and help them get into whatever help they need. So I would say that the reason I don't like people saying gun ownership is going to lead to more safety and freedom is because on a list of things, even for the founding fathers in the Constitution, on the list of things that maintain freedom for Americans, it's not the First or Second Amendment. It's due process. It's like the Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment. It's being able to have privacy from the government, not being invaded, not be like searches and seizures. Those are the things that protect freedom. An educated population protects against tyranny. That really reinforces freedom. The guns really. Yeah, but I'm saying the core foundation of our Constitution is like due process. It's not the Second Amendment, because like right now people are not caring about due process, and it's people they don't like. But that's the core of it. Just like if you look at other things, it might seem like we're focusing on the right thing, or it might seem like guns are the biggest. Like we need guns and death penalty to reduce crime, but there's no data at all that does reduce crime. Should you be able to maintain guns? I'm against the death penalty because I don't think the state should be able to kill people, especially without due process. I think people that are pro death penalty are pro authoritarian government, and they don't even know it, because they're happy to see people put to death, which is I don't want to kill any innocent people on behalf of my taxpayer dollars if I can avoid it. But the thing we need to focus on is not the death penalty, not guns. It's due process for our Constitution and legal systems, and it's also building up our societies and our social systems. If we really want safer communities, we need to reinvest in our communities, and then our law enforcement will have easier jobs, because we're going to catch criminals and help them go down a better path before they actually commit crime.
Well, okay, for starters, so I gotta backtrack on what I said at the beginning of this call because I thought that you were against the Second Amendment or against having the Second Amendment because it is a fundamental right for you to be able to defend yourself. Even from a humanitarian standpoint, you should be able to defend yourself from an attacker, somebody who threatens your life or your family's life. I believe that you should be able to end their life. You know.
What do you think about like basic background checks? So like for example, you beat your wife and now you are on a list of domestic abusers and you can no longer purchase a firearm. And we want to make sure you can't buy a firearm at a gun show or whatever.
Personally, I think that's okay. You know, I think it's okay that we don't give somebody who has a history of domestic violence. You know, I think it's okay that we don't give somebody who has a history of domestic violence a gun. You know, I think those.
Yeah, but a lot of Second Amendment people will say like, oh, the people that talk about it as their as their identity, their gender is Second Amendment. I identify as the Second Amendment. Those people will say like, oh, any infringement at all is unconstitutional. But in my opinion, like, when you have like very basic regulations, I think that's more than reasonable.
Okay, so the thing about that, what you just said regarding domestic violence, if you go to jail. If you go to prison or jail, that right to have a gun is pretty much taken away. It's not there for you anymore. You're not allowed to have a gun until the parole officer at least clears it off from your name, you know. And that seems to be well under control. In regards to background checks, I don't think it's right because when you start doing a background check in terms of like somebody who's never had a criminal history, you know, nothing like that, then you are effectively infringing on somebody's right to own a gun. You know, so this has been used in the past to prevent people who don't even have a criminal record, you know. They don't have anything negative on their name, on their profile, you know.
So like if someone's like if someone beat their wives and their kids, if someone beat their wives and their kids, for example, should they be able to legally buy a gun then? Is what you're saying?
No, because if you do that, you go to jail. Like,
but you're saying they should be able to buy a kid though, or they should be able to buy a gun though. If they get out of jail, they should be able to buy a gun. You're saying?
No, I don't say that.
Well, how would you ever prevent that if you don't have like basic background checks?
Well, what I'm saying is that so what I just mentioned, Jolah, is that if you go on trial and you get convicted of committing domestic violence against anyone, right? You're not going to have the right to own a gun. That right is going to be taken away from you. You understand? Okay, so here's where I want to answer your question about the background check. The background check. So I'm going to take one example here. His name is John Stossel. Have you ever watched him? He used to be on ABC News a long time ago.
I'm sorry. Okay, just one quick thing too. Like it's like Trump with the red flag laws, where he wants to be able to have a report of someone that might be violent and take their guns instantly with no trial, no judge or whatever. That is very authoritarian. That is bypassing a judge though. That's authoritarian. You can make an argument for some type of thing like that with a very limited period. But if you have background checks, you can appeal that. You could have a court system. You could have due process. You could have a lawyer. You can do things to say like, okay, well, I'm being wrongly denied this claim or whatever, or I'm being wrongly denied a firearm. There's an actual process for that. The thing that would infringe, in my opinion, I think Trump infringes more authoritarian policies on the Second Amendment than even background checks do, because of the red flags ability to bypass courts and judges and all that kind of stuff. Like nothing is going to be perfect, yes or no, but I want a system where there is a legal framework and a way to reinforce it And I'm pretty sure courts have said that uh, reasonable regulations, basic background checks to make sure if you are mentally ill or a felon, it's hard for you to buy a
But
firearm.
see,
Not easy, but
but
make it
again,
harder.
my rebuttal to that is that people who don't have any history of mental illnesses or things like that, they're being denied, even with these background
Yeah,
checks
but you
that
can
you're
appeal that. I'm saying you can appeal that if you are being wrongly denied, but I don't know any proof of that. And I really don't know any proof of that happening maybe there's
well,
issue with the
like I
system, but I've
said,
never heard of someone. I know tons of people that got guns. I do not know anyone that was denied because of like a basic background check. I know people that
well,
have
I
some
literally
concealed
just
carry
mentioned
permits. I
I
have concealed
literally
carry.
just mentioned a guy. No. I literally just mentioned a guy who
Okay, so you're
is
saying that we
pretty famous.
cannot. So you're saying that if you're mentally ill or if you beat your wife, you should be able to buy a gun then, because you need some way to check to have basic background checks at a gun shop or whatever to make sure that that person's not getting it.
But
So you would
if
trade
you
that.
have that if you have that in your record, it's going to show up, Jola.
But
It's
okay,
going to show up.
how is it going to
And
show up? Where is it going to show up at?
in the background check. But
Okay,
the
so
thing is
you're okay
that
with background
what
checks.
you're but what you wait okay, so what we're arguing here is the method of background checks. So you're saying, oh, okay, somebody with domestic violence, dot. But what I'm saying is somebody who has nothing on their background, nothing. It's clean. There's nothing going on. They are the ones who are being infringed on their rights to own a gun, and this is evident because
So
even somebody like John Stossel, who is pretty well known, he actually tried to do this
there's
because he
further
did make
review
these
though, right? There's further review.
No, because they even you know what they do in New York City? They ask you, why do you need a gun?
Is that a state policy or a
Now
city
you need a
policy?
that means now you need a valid reason in order to own a gun. If you don't have a valid reason to own a gun, then they won't give you the permit. And you can look this
What
up.
kind of a
It's
permit?
on John's. It's a concealed carry permit. That's what he was
What about
applying.
gun ownership? Is it all ownership or just concealed carry?
I think it was. I believe I'm like 90% sure that it was concealed carry. There is a
Oh,
video he posted it up.
there's no longer a reason required. They removed that. Like it's very, it seems pretty. There's a 2022 Supreme Court decision that made them. That's no longer a requirement. And also the stats on background checks that have false positives that are inaccurate. 99.8% of background checks are completely accurate. 99.8%. So it's a very small percent that is wrong. And also it says that 99.9% of people that were wrongly denied had their cases overturned. So like I think those are pretty good numbers for any system. Like we're not in a utopia, we're not going to be in a perfect world. But it seems like a pretty decent system if that's the numbers for it.
I still think it's a little bit suspicious that it even happened in the first place. Even if the laws would change around or this and that due to exposure, because I'm pretty sure if Stossel didn't expose it, it would have just kept going on. But in any case, there is another thing. I guess we can just agree to disagree on some stuff regarding gun ownership and safety, but another thing I wanted to sort of bring up to you is some of the statements that you made about George Floyd. I think it was about a couple of days ago. So there are a few points that I did agree with you on. I believe that Derek Chauvin did actually kill George Floyd by putting his knee on the neck. It's pretty obvious. I wouldn't even argue that. What I disagree with is the response that came after it. I believe that the Black Lives Matter movement really really spiraled out of control.
Oh, thank you so much for the
And
donation, Hector. Thank you, Hector, for the donation in chat. Thank you for the donation on PayPal. Thank you, really appreciate it. Yeah, continue. Sorry.
okay, so I just didn't like the reception of like George Floyd because he was not a good man. You
I don't
know,
know anyone that claimed he was a good man. They just said what happened was wrong.
well, there were a lot of media outlets that actually tried to paint him as a good man. You know, and I can see from your point of view that
You could
agree.
humanize someone who's not a good person, or you could humanize someone that went through a lot of things, but grew up in a pretty shitty area too. Like he could still be someone that did not deserve to die. He could still be a decent person that like loves his kids. You know, you could still
I
be
mean,
decent for
sure,
someone. No
sure,
one said he was a hero by any means. Like I don't know,
sure,
like people
sure,
like were
but
friends with him before he was an addict. Like that happens when people are addicts or alcoholics or whatever. They change as people. You know, he probably went down a really dark path for a few years, obviously, and you know, bad things happen. And you know, he had a really cute daughter who was talking about her dad, and it was really. I think it's okay. I think it's okay to be a human sometimes. I don't know why anyone would be upset with like the outcry after what happened, because it wasn't about like George Floyd being amazing. He was just the one person that was killed. So he like it was not like anyone chose him to be the martyr.
well, yeah. So I do agree that you see, like, I may be for a republic and for the conservation of ideas or ideals, but I disagree with the way the police are handling many people's lives today. And it really bothers me because during the last year I used to watch this YouTube channel. Uh, it's about a lawyer who points out cases where police actually do illegal stuff. So, for example, you have police that violate people's Fourth Amendment right. You have police that violate a bunch of laws in order to basically just perform illegal acts on people. I remember this one cop, like the last video that I watched, this one cop, he tried arresting this man who was just standing by his car, and I mean, he got fired, but a lot of that activity does go unpunished. So I think George Floyd's case really brought into light, some of the stuff that police actually do that doesn't get checked. So um, yeah, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Like I guess like we can agree that George Floyd was probably not the best man in the world, but
It doesn't. Yeah, nothing about him as a person matters. All they know was someone had a counterfeit check or a bill, and they showed up, and he had some type of panic attack, and the drugs did not play a big role into it, like people like to say. There were no signs of overdose, or there were no signs of him being on heavy downers or anything. He would not be acting like he was acting if that was the case. He definitely had anxiety issues. He was definitely yelling stuff because he didn't want to be arrested, obviously. And you know, it doesn't matter. All they saw was a man, and all they knew was this guy. We had a call at that point. All they knew was we got a call for a $20 bill that was not real, and now we're trying to apprehend this person and detain them and put them into the car. And he was not complying. Had him on the ground, and then you have your knee on his neck, and then you're there for 4.5 minutes. He's saying he can't breathe. He was saying that, but that's not really what matters because the total 9.5 minutes or whatever it was, 4.5 of those minutes, 4.5 of those were him struggling. And then another 4.5, he was completely unconscious. So, you know, he maintained the pressure with like 100 pounds of body weight on his neck for 5 minutes, essentially, while this human body was unconscious beneath him. Literally lifeless. And he was dead before he even got to the hospital, I'm pretty sure. He had no pulse when the paramedics showed up. Yeah, I think I'm right about that. But yeah, that's the biggest part right there. All the after the fact stuff, it doesn't matter at all because anyone could be arrested and have a panic attack. And, as an officer, especially when he passes out completely, like that's the big thing that probably got him the charges that I keep saying is the fact that even when he was fully passed out, he was still putting the same amount of pressure on his neck. Why did he have the same amount of pressure on his neck for 5 minutes as a police officer for a guy who's literally unconscious?
I do think it was wrong to do that. And I know a lot of people who are Republican or conservative. They will argue the fact that he did have a high amount of narcotics on him in his toxicology report. Like I remember, if I recall correctly, he had like 11 nanograms per milliliter of methamphetamines in his system. But honestly, even if that was the case, that kind of level of intoxication for those chemicals, most people survive those levels. But I do think it did, even though I do think that it had a contribution to the way Derek killed this man, I believe that ultimately the fatal cause of George Floyd's death is the knee on his neck.
Well, okay, so all the medical opinions agree with you. All the medical opinions have concluded that the drugs were not a huge factor in the case. That's not what an overdose looks like. It's not what the drugs would look like. And it was improper technique as well. He was never the person that trained him. The person that trained Chauvin said that it was not proper. He was never trained that way. That was not approved by any. Even the experts that were not from the department said, yeah, this is not an approved way to hold someone. And it's like, every piece of evidence goes against what the right wingers say about this topic. Every single piece of evidence, and they bring up, the lethal dosage of fentanyl. Well, tolerance actually matters. Science actually matters. The shit matters. We can't just say stuff. I'm gonna go into. I appreciate the call. I'm gonna take one more for tonight. But I appreciate it.
Well, it was good talking to you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.
All right, see you.
I'll talk to one more person if someone's trying to call in. Please drop a like and subscribe. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the donation on PayPal again. I don't know if anyone donated on Venmo or Cash App. YouTube's throttling. They're throttling my YouTube's throttling my stream, guys. They don't want me to grow. They don't want to see me fly. They don't want to see it. They just don't want to see me be successful. What a shame. What a shame, bro. What a shame. What a shame. Judge a life that you can change. You know what? I need to sing that song more. It's a good song. Good job, Everlast. What a shame. What a shame.
You talk nonsense. I would love to debate you anytime, anywhere. It's not about free speech. It's about threatening students to go to class and keeping them from class and taking over buildings. That's not free speech.
Anthony Savino.
Well, GG's. Doxed. Whoops.
Call from
Robert.
Hello.
Hello? Hey, you got me?
What's up? This is the Jolah Politics guy on YouTube. Thank you, Hector. Thank you, Hector, for the super chat. Yeah, what's up?
Hey, how we doing? I'm actually really surprised I got through. I figured there'd be a lot more callers.
Yeah, it's a down night tonight. We're just chilling.
I gotcha. Yeah, so I've been listening to a little bit of your stuff. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. So I'm not like a super educated person, just like most Americans and stuff. I'm not saying that I'm a Trumper, nor am I saying that I guess I'm kind of in the middle and stuff. But, I've listened to some of your stuff and like that guy that was just on about guns and everything like that. I'm a gun owner, and, I've traveled around the United States quite a bit. I've been to 40 different states. I'm not a very, like I said, I'm not a very well educated person as far as like schooling and stuff like that. But I have a lot of life experience. I've seen a lot of things, and it kind of seems to me like I'm like most Americans and most people around the country, and we get our information from what we see, and what we hear and stuff. And to lean on the gun point a little bit. Sorry for sounding a little bit nervous, but I don't really do things like this that often or never.
Yeah, no
Um,
worries. All good.
but the Second Amendment, in my opinion, was never written, as far as like, hey, you can own a gun. It's written in a way such that it's, it says you have the right to bear arms against enemies, foreign and domestic. Bearing arms is a fist fight. It's a deterrent and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And with all the travesty that's going on in the world today, with Putin and Ukraine and the Iran and Yemen and so on and so forth. It's like I look at it like, the United States has created a lot of enemies. Well, I'm part of that American institution. Now my kids are, and if we're creating enemies and stuff, and we were ever to get invaded by any of these enemies, shouldn't I have the right to protect myself and fight against these enemies that were created by people that are beyond me?
Yeah, that's
That's
really
my
difficult conversation because the one framework would be you want everyone to be armed to prevent from invasion, and then there's another that would say you want to be armed to protect from tyranny from your own government. So those are two separate thought patterns for me because I feel like if we were in a state
Well, I
of
mean, but
possibly
that's what
being
it says in the
invaded, I think that
Constitution,
matters a
though.
lot more. So like when it comes to protecting American freedom with our government and constitution, I think due process, the First Amendment matters much more than the Second Amendment. When they say like the First Amendment is protected by the Second Amendment, that never really plays out for a ton of reasons. But in America right now, if we were in a place where we can get invaded, there's a much better argument for people being invaded if we were a country that was getting, in wars and that had wars
Right.
on our own land. But America has not had to go through that for a long time. And I feel like the type of warfare we're going to see in the future, and this is a whole different conversation, I feel like, but it's going to be cyber warfare. It's going to be economic warfare. It's going to be attacks on the electric grid. It's going to be
Right.
restricting
Well,
trade.
let me ask you a question though. Okay, and I agree with you. It's totally going to be cyber warfare. But how long is that cyber warfare going to last before it becomes something different and
I
stuff?
don't know. It's hard to say. Yeah, that's difficult
because
because when it gets to
if
that
you
point,
have
it's going to be pretty screwed up, right? Like if it gets to that point, we're going to be in a really bad position anyway. So
absolutely, I totally agree. I feel like we're borderline on that position right now. It's kind of like my position on the whole border thing. It's like that Mexico is loaded with cartels. It's loaded with drugs and bad people. That's why the asylum seekers are coming to the United States to seek asylum from Haiti because it's a trashy, terrible place to live, and stuff. But the problem I see with like opening the border completely is now it's like if you're running from wolves and stuff, and you run in a gate, but you leave the gate open. Those wolves are still after you, and those wolves are still going to come over here, and that's what I see, like with the whole open border thing, and I see that kind of with the gun thing, and so on and so forth. Everything that we do as human beings come with a cost, and nothing will ever be perfect and stuff, and it's hard to sit here and condemn one person's beliefs over another, because we all come from different walks of life. And we, like some of the shit that I've seen in my life is absolutely just devastating to me. I mean, my hometown, a small town in Oregon and stuff. I mean, I don't want to really disclose where I live or anything like that, but it's like I watched that place, kind of a beautiful place, and then as time went on here, it's just getting trashier and trashier. Some of that is with liberal views. And I'll say that I live here in Oregon, and it's a very leftist state. And
I'd
it's
say
like,
it's like
okay, well,
yeah.
it is a very leftist state, for the most part. But it's like I get I walk down the road and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna legalize drugs, and now here's some free fentanyl and so on and so forth. And it's like I feel like nobody's really doing anything about the actual problem. They're just giving into it.
I have a few
You
different
know,
ways to
and that's
go about these things. So like the open borders stuff, it's not really open borders in a sense of allowing illegal immigration because they don't allow that. But our asylum laws currently allow for if you come into America with an asylum claim, you can come here, and if you report yourself within a time frame, you can seek an actual asylum hearing. Or you could go to a port of entry and seek asylum, which many people do as well. If we follow our laws exactly, we're going to have too many people coming over. And there have been bills that try to restrict that number, but Trump told Republicans to vote it down when it had a chance to pass in a bipartisan manner with Biden as president, because Trump wanted to campaign on it instead of actually solving the issue. Another problem is the crime rate for immigrants is extremely low. It's very low for undocumented immigrants, for illegal immigrants, for naturalized, for citizens. It's extremely low for anyone that's born outside of the U.S. Naturally born American citizens actually have a higher rate of crime by far compared to immigrants, because if you're an immigrant, you really don't want to get deported, so you're gonna stay away from crime as much as possible, even very petty, very petty dumb crimes. And there's like no evidence at all that the huge immigration surges we have, they don't increase crime anywhere. There are crimes people sensationalize. So it's like if an immigrant kills someone, it's going to be national news, right? You hear about Lake and Riley 24/7. They use that poor girl's name for all the politics they can. But you know,
well, I mean,
there's girls that get killed
for
all the time. And if we want to talk about who kills more women, it's like 90% white men who do all the rapes and murders of women. It's like we can't just like take one person or one case and use that for the entire group, especially because like immigrants have such a low crime rate. Like these are people that are like by far the vast majority are escaping persecution. But right now Trump has quotas for ICE, and you never want quotas on law enforcement. And I always say this because you don't want them going after people just for the sake of getting numbers.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. I mean, there was quotas being given to police officers up here in Multnomah County out of Portland and stuff for traffic violations. And they also made it a law to where they could pull over people for driving too well and stuff. And, that kind of bureaucracy. I mean, I shit you not, dude. Seriously, it's fucking insane. That to me is, I mean, like it's appalling, and these are, supposed to be our peers, like police officers, for instance. It's like, there's good ones and there's bad ones. There's people, it's, there's good people and there's bad people on so many different levels and stuff. But I feel like some of our politicians, and especially like, because I live in a very blue state and stuff. Okay, we have a major here. It's Major 11. Okay, you can't so much as like, like, you get in a fist fight with somebody at a bar without one or both of you going to jail for 5 years. I mean, seriously, you're like making laws against human nature and territorialism and stuff like that. I mean, you grow up, it's like you have these traits. It's like if somebody's banging your girlfriend or something like that, you come home, you beat the hell out of the dude or something like that. I mean, you can call it domestic violence, but at the same time, it's like, where are you at in your mindset? How would anybody else on the planet feel, if you came home to that? Or if you're drinking at a bar, somebody riles you up, you get in a fist fight, it could just go blow for blow and then call it quits and everybody goes their separate directions. But now it's like the police get involved, and there's court dates and there's fines and there's prison time and stuff, and it's just like you're feeding people into this prison industrial complex, over stupid things.
Yeah, someone in chat said, and they don't ever use the name of George Floyd. Yeah, no, Republicans talk about George Floyd more than Democrats do. They talk about Lake and Riley every single day on the news. Tom Homan, that dumbass, he was using Lake and Riley's murder as a reason to violate due process and to violate the Constitution. Like, did Lake and Riley get due process? So, like, they're making the argument because Lake and Riley was killed by a murderer. We should become more like the murderer. I don't think we should do that. So yeah, I mean, they use Lake and Riley's name constantly, way more than George Floyd was used, and they're not going to stop using it because she's like their person they're going to use to demonize all immigrants. And that's what they're sending innocent people to El Salvador right now, and they don't give a shit. Like,
Right,
innocent
but
people.
here's my thing is I think that goes on both sides of the fence though. And,
Yeah, they use it
because
for politics, but at least on my
yeah,
side, I could say like, okay, they're using it for politics. But on the Republican side, they literally use it to demonize all immigrants. Like right now, they're happy to see brown people
right,
carried
and
out of America because they're just happy to see brown people
yeah,
in
and I
pain.
think it's whatever pops up in your algorithm first. It's like if I sitting here looking up stuff about Republicans, that's all I see. Just or things that I agree with, whatever like that. Then it's just bam, bam, bam. But there's certain questions that I've tried to ask Google in the past. It's like I can't get a direct answer. Like facts or anything like that. Or whatever. And like I told you, I'm not like a hyper educated person. But I've been around the country. I've been to like Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You drive on what is that? I believe it's I-10. I can't remember and stuff. But you drive in there, there's a big billboard up there that says like they're proud of it. It says more murders per capita than Chicago. That's an actual factual thing. There was a billboard. I saw it with my own eyes. It's right there alongside the freeway. And I mean, granted, that's a very red state, but what are the cities? I mean, it's like a lawless community. And I understand that there's not a lot of police officers and stuff, but I mean, the United States is a disgusting place, and on both sides of the fence, the left wing, the right wing, and stuff. One is just as corrupt as the other. I mean,
I would definitely disagree with that. I would disagree heavily with that in a broad scale. Like the left wing is definitely far less corrupt than the right wing. There still is corruption for sure, but from a pure basis of what policies they run on, what policies they do, if they hold big companies accountable, how much big donor money they get, the right wing gets so much more big donor money. They do such better policies for the big banks, and they screw over working people far more than Democrats do. Although I'm not happy with Democrats, but the right wing, especially now in America, this is the most corporate, corrupt party we've ever seen control the presidency, probably. So I would argue that one side is 100% definitely better than the other for tons of reasons.
Well, like I said, I'm just going off my life experiences, basically more so than anything, and probably feeling. And stuff.
Yeah, but my job, my goal with like a channel like this is going through these topics and going more in depth, so we can talk about, okay, well, they look the same because like Trump's goal is to make everything seem super corrupt. All these politicians' goal, these really terrible politicians. Trump did not spend $1 on advertising making himself look good. It was just making Democrats look bad. If you can convince everyone that, Democrats and Republicans are both just as bad as each other, if they're both just as bad, you're going to pick the more exciting person, the more bombastic person, or you're going to vote. Or you're just not going to vote at all. You're going to be disengaged from the political system. And that's what Trump did intentionally with his advertisements. He wants you to just not vote or to not be engaged because everything is the same corruption. And meanwhile, like Joe Biden was holding corporations accountable. Donald Trump is not doing that at all.
Okay. But I mean, to play devil's advocate on what you're saying about how his funding for his campaign was to just kind of demonize Democrats. Well, for basically the last 8 years, before his second term and stuff, we listened to the Democrats demonize Trump, and it was like shoved down our throats. Through mainstream media, through all the.
Yeah, but he's a terrible person. He's a terrible president. He's a really bad. Okay, he did try overturning an election that he lost. He still lies about it. He pardoned the January 6th people. He wants to give them reparations. And meanwhile, he says the cops on that day were enemies. He's a reprehensible human being. He deserves the criticism he gets. But the issue is that like he does not make himself look good. Like he ran on zero healthcare policy. He had zero policies at all other than tariffs and I'm going to be an asshole to people you don't like. I'm going to own the libs for you. Like Harris actually ran on policies and no one gave a shit.
Okay, well, I mean, if you want to go like Democratic policies, under every Democratic president I've ever lived through and stuff, which was 3 now, Bill, I think it was, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama and Joe Biden and stuff. It's like, okay, maybe there was precursors, from the previous president or anything like that, but I can just tell you this, like some president gets elected, I all of a sudden can't afford to go to work. President gets elected, I lose my health care through my job because they can't afford to pay for it, and then I get fined $1,500 or $1,700 and some odd dollars, through my taxes to pay for Obamacare and stuff. I mean, that was a little unjust. I was forced to pay that, and if I didn't, what were the repercussions and stuff? So, it's just like going off my own life and the things that I've seen in my own life and stuff, and I think I can speak for a lot of other people. It's just like the things that we see that's right in front of us and stuff. When in my experiences, when like 2008, for instance, when we had the recession, it's like I lived in kind of a smaller town that was growing in population, and all of a sudden there was like no construction. All of a sudden, all the mills shut down. Everything. There was absolutely no work. I had to move, and I had to move to a place I really didn't want to go in order to find
Well, the big
work.
thing with that is just like Trump got lucky with the economy. They gave him credit because he got lucky. But with 2008, that happened because George Bush deregulated banks so much. And it also Democrats in 2010 passed laws, the Dodd-Frank Wall Street reforms, to hold big banks accountable. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was made back then. Democrats passed that. No Republicans voted for it at all. When it was time to hold big banks accountable for screwing us over in 2008, only Democrats voted for that. Republicans voted against it. And now Trump removed all of those protections that we had to hold these big banks accountable. So the people that caused 2008, somehow Republicans fail. They blame it on Democrats, and they get all the benefits. So like Trump takes over after Obama fixes 2008. Trump goes off of Obama's growing economy, gets credit for it. Then he crashes the economy with COVID. Biden somehow gets blamed for the shitty job Trump did with COVID. Biden gets blamed, leads America to the #1 economy in the world. But Americans are still mad about prices going up, which every country had people mad about that with inflation because global inflation happened in every country. And then somehow Trump takes over when the economy's in a good position from Biden after the COVID crash, and Trump is somehow crashing it again. Like, it's insane how we have this Bush crash. Reagan, Bush crash it. Bush, Clinton has a Reagan, Bush crash it, and grow our national deficit more than Reagan started the national deficit crisis. George Bush, Reagan, and Trump are the people that are 90% responsible for national debt. It's insane that Democrats get blamed for being the big spender somehow and being fiscally irresponsible. It's insane how Republicans can propagandize. I'm sorry for getting worked up right now, but it's insane how Republicans can be so shitty at their jobs and propagandize people to hell. They are literally ones that grow the national debt. We had Reagan and Bush. The deficit went crazy for the first time. Then we had Clinton have a surplus. Then we had George W. Bush crash the economy again, leads into terrible wars in Afghanistan. Pass the tax cut for the ultra wealthy. Huge deficits. Then financial crisis. Obama takes over. We have to bail out the freaking banks. We pass some reforms for banks to limit them. Obama brings the economy back, lowers our deficit to $400 billion a year. Trump takes over, cuts taxes again, increases the deficit back to $700 billion a year. COVID happens. Trump handles it terribly. More Americans die from COVID than any other country had deaths because we handled it so bad. But no Americans care. Trump crashes the damn economy. Biden comes in. We became the #1 economy in the world. Freaking, he gets blamed for it somehow. He gets blamed for the inflation that Trump caused. He gets blamed for the immigration that Trump caused because the immigration was going up before Trump even left office. And somehow he gets blamed for it for fixing the economy, and Trump gets credit for when he comes into office with a strong economy, and then Trump crashes it again, and Trump still does not get the blame. It's such a crazy world. Holy crap.
And I totally agree with you. Okay, so I agree with you on this. And I have to thank you, for educating me on all this. Because like I told you, I'm not a very educated person when it comes to any of this stuff. And I never lived a life that would allow me to be until here kind of recently when so I'm a commercial fisherman. I run a 57-foot commercial crab boat in Oregon.
Oh, yeah. What kind of crab?
And Dungeness crab.
Ooh.
And and I tuna fish. I do a lot of other fisheries and stuff too, But this is my life. And it is a very to me overregulated thing. Now I understand. There is need for regulations in fishing because it can be overfished, it can be devastating, and so on and so forth. But I also think it's also kind of the whole fishing industry is kind of ran by a mafia sort of thing and stuff. But there's these these regulations and stuff, and the amount of the state police of Oregon and stuff like that coming down on us and stuff. It's always it's a burden. I mean the paperwork and stuff. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with paperwork, but I mean some of it is just it's revenue building shit, just to hope you fail.
There's a lot of regulation that doesn't work very well. But my issue is with politics in general is, Democrats will talk about that. We can have a discussion about how to make those better. And then like I'll be
Right.
talking about that, I'll go to the school board meeting, talk about the local, budget and the property taxes and go to all these places. And the damn Republicans that are in charge now, they're like, but we have to ban the pronouns. What about the pronouns and the twins? The pronouns are killing the kids. The pronouns in the books. We got to ban the books and the pronouns. The pronouns and DEI. Pronouns. It's like you're all white and there's no black people working here. The DEI killed us. The pronouns. It's like there's not even one person here that uses pronouns, and there's no trans people here. The pronouns are attacking us. It's like, okay, let's talk about the budget. But the pronouns are in the budget though. It's like, can you shut up about the damn pronouns? Holy shit. How offended do you need to freaking be? Can we talk about shit that actually helps people? Like, I wish we could have a debate on regulations.
I'll tell you this right now.
Because it would make Democrats better. It would make Democrats better if they had an actual opposing party that could speak English. It'd be amazing if we had an opposing party to make Democrats be better on this stuff. It'd be awesome.
I totally agree. And I mean, and honestly, like I could say that for both sides, because I mean, listen to yourself. I mean, in the way you're talking to me and how like hyped up you're getting and stuff like that. For the average person, it's hard to talk to people like you, to education, to academics and stuff. It's really hard.
Oh, I'm
like,
in a bad mood today. I'm usually really good. I'm in a bad mood today.
You're not. I've seen you a few times. You're not usually in a good mood. I've heard what you call people.
Well, I talk to people about politics at 1 a.m. on weeknights. What do you think I'm doing?
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Well, I understand long hours. I do. I get it. So, but the thing about it is like, I mean, I guess the point of the conversation I'm making is just a layman American, that we have certain, ideas, about how the economy is. Now, I'll let you know, I have 5 kids. I'm 42 years old. I have 5 kids and stuff. My life is busy, very, very busy. And I don't have time. Like, I can't sit down. I can't do all this research and stuff like that. I don't have time to do it.
Let me talk to you like you're a voter then. Let me talk to you like I'm a candidate. Okay, I'm gonna run for office. Okay, 1 second. Let me find it. Okay, so I'm running for office. I'm telling you about my campaign. Okay, so this is my mode I'd be in if I was not on YouTube doing YouTube debates. This is my campaign speech. Okay. Throughout this campaign, I plan to uncover the value of what I have to offer. We don't have leadership right now, and through my leadership, my main goal is motivating you, showing everyone there are ways to impact your community. The American people have unique power. I'm not going to outsource my job to Elon Musk or another billionaire. I believe you have the answers. But you're busy. You have jobs. You raise kids. I don't expect you to be a dork like I am. It's not fun talking about politics all the time. Real leadership would make government easier for you to influence without consuming your entire life. Wouldn't that be great, finding things we actually agree on and actually getting them done? We have so many gossip girls and macho men who want to do photo ops all day. Everything's so dramatic. The radical left, wokeism, DEI, broad topics they want us fighting over. The best way to break reality television is to bring it back to reality. Big money should not control politics. It should not. We all agree big money should be out of politics. Let's just do it. If a politician that you talk to does not want to get money out of politics, you know why. Like, that's the kind of thing you would say to voters when you say, okay, you can trust me because I don't take big money. I want to get big money out of politics. For healthcare, why are we giving so many fees to people for Obamacare to both subsidize private insurance and also pay private insurance? Why are we paying both? Are we going to pay the government for health insurance or the private companies? Why are we paying both sides? We're getting screwed from both sides. I would say that. I would go through down this list of topics that relate to people on a more standard level. Give some knowledge where I'm like, okay, I'm knowledgeable about this and that. Here's my general plans to help us move forward. And then, like you said, you're busy. You have kids. You don't want to have to, you have a family or whatever you're dealing with. Whatever someone is dealing with, kids, wives, husbands, whatever it might be.
Right.
You don't want to spend all your time doing politics.
It's not a matter of I don't want it.
No, you don't have time to. You don't have time to, and you don't want to. Yeah. Let's be real. You don't want to either. Like, no one wants to. No one wants to talk about damn politics all the time. It's not fun. But that's the point of having representatives, because people don't have time to do that. So that's why we elect people who can be like our representatives that can focus all of our wants and our desires from our local area in DC, because we're not going to do a national popular vote on every single policy. So that's the point of our system. Right. It's one of the big points. So like if I was talking to someone about being elected, or for Democrats, I think it's a really good play to get money out of politics. If Democrats really pounded that issue every single day, get money out of politics. Anyone that votes against getting money out of politics, they are corrupt. They're bought out. Why the hell would you not do that? Like something like that would be really easy, I feel like.
Well, yeah, I know. But I mean, I guess kind of what I'm saying is it's like the approach of our of our politicians. I mean, to me, with what you were reading, I know that's one of your speeches. I think I heard you say that the other day, and stuff. And to be a, okay. Let me ask you a question. Like, how many roughneck people are in the United States? Just on a guess to you,
Roughneck,
just the
so
average.
like,
In a percentage, out of our 350 million people.
do you mean just like working people, or just like
working class, the guy that's making the crude comments and stuff, the guy that's telling dirty jokes and stuff,
are we talking about just men or women too?
Women are just as dirty as men, especially, in lower middle class.
So let's say like you're working class, you're making less than 60K, I guess, right? Something like that.
Yeah, let's nowadays
100, 100 or not put a number
around
on it. Probably like 50 million or 70 million. A decent amount of people are going to be. We have 340 million people in America. Most people don't have that much money. So it's hard to say. There's a lot of people though that would watch like. There's a lot of people that would watch Joe Rogan and Elon Musk talk or Trump talk and think, yeah, this guy makes sense because he's talking to me. He's not trying to talk above me. Or talk like an academic.
And that's exactly where I'm going with it and stuff. And the problem with like the academic world is you guys talk down to everybody. All the academic politicians, all of you guys.
Trump talks down to people too, though. It's a different kind of talking down. Trump talks down,
but it is a different kind of talk because he's more. Literally, I listen to him and I get a chuckle out of it. I don't necessarily agree with anything that he says and stuff. I don't necessarily agree with anything Obama says or anything like that. But the thing about it is you got to capture and captivate the minds of your voters.
Oh, trust me, I very much understand. I very much understand that.
And the problem is, and I can probably say this for lots of other people, millions and stuff, is the fact that you don't sound like them. You're not one of the guys. You're not the friend. At this point, you portray yourself like the enemy because of how hyped up you get. And I could tell you, that me and countless other people are tired of the hyperactive, shove it down your throat shit.
It's also one of those things where we wish we wish people weren't so soft and so pampered with that kind of stuff, and it's really difficult for a lot of them.
It's not that we're soft or anything like that. It's just that we don't want to fucking listen to you.
I know, but it's because you can't really mentally handle it. It's mental toughness. It is a form of mental toughness, and people need to understand. Democrat. That's why Bill Clinton was so successful because he was able to say it in a very folksy way. That's why Obama was successful. He was really angry and passionate. That's why Bernie Sanders is successful. Bernie Sanders is able to say things in a very direct way that sounds very simple, and it's also about empowering people. So that's a very good message. But I wouldn't go to a YouTube debate stream to find that necessarily. If I want to do like political ads, I definitely switch to rhetoric.
Right.
That's why Elon Musk sounds like an idiot now too. It's hard to sound intelligent and not sound condescending at the same time. It really is hard. Or you just need to not say intelligent things.
I understand that and stuff. But the thing about it is like it's just like to me it's I'm coming from a lot of personal experiences and stuff like that and so on and so forth. Because I'm pretty much just like every other American and stuff. I'm not an educated person. And it's like I want to have a conversation with somebody that's not going to call me stupid or racist for my views and stuff, or just because I'm white, or like I see something that I don't agree with and stuff like that. That doesn't make me a bigot. It doesn't make me. You don't have to resort to name calling because.
Yeah, but
I don't understand.
And someone said a fisherman, this man isn't soft. I'm not saying he's soft. I'm saying these conversations are difficult. I'm saying that and obviously I'm going to talk like a dork right now because I'm on my YouTube stream at 12 a.m. But either way, like
let's let that person come to work with me for a minute.
No, he's saying that you are not. He's saying that you are not soft. But no, I'm saying when I say like it's about the tough conversations, like talking. If a lot of people in America, if you talk about racism, they get offended. Like and this is people who would say that they're social justice warriors or whatever, but it's because they can't talk about racism without getting offended and without getting defensive. And I don't think the far left helps with that at all. And they don't direct the conversation in a good place.
No, and
but
liberals.
Well, the liberals probably do it even worse, to be honest. But they're the people that people think are leftist or whatever. But like the white privilege talk, the toxic masculinity, none of that helps anyone get to a consensus. It doesn't help to start the conversation with, I think that you're innately evil because you're white in America or whatever. Like it's not beneficial. Is there an example of a Democratic politician that you hear talk and you like them?
Say that again. What now?
Is there an example for a Democratic politician you can hear talk and you like them, or you think they're like enjoyable to listen to, and you think they're not talking down to people?
I'd have to really like go back and like actually listen to more people.
I'm sorry, because a lot of the times, and I'll be honest, this is my final thing I'll say, because I know someone said it's not talking down. A lot of times, you know, like AOC?
Yeah, the way she talks.
I think she would do well. I think she'd do better than people think, because people do appreciate. She had a high crossover with Trump voters. She talks like Bernie a little bit, just like appealing to. And she's from. I also love how she was a bartender, and Republicans laugh at it. I would love to put her on a debate stage and have like some rich asshole be like, "You were a dirty bartender. That's disgusting." And hear all the bartenders that I know in life. I want to hear all the bartenders that Republicans react to them calling bartenders disgusting, because they really do make fun of her. Like, go back to being a bartender, idiot, or whatever.
Right. I mean, whatever. But I mean, people. I mean, that to me is just part of the human condition. I mean, everybody wants to, to fight, and people feed on rage. I mean, that's a thing. But
it's hard for the left too. Like, let's say you're like black in America, for example, and you have to hear all these racist jokes, and then they're like, if a black person talks intelligently about something, then people say like, oh well, they're talking down, or they're being uppity. They'll use those kinds of words, and then Trump will be super insulting of tons of people, but the people that support Trump, they're not the target of his insults, so they're okay with it. So it's really hard, because a lot of the times when people get offended by liberals or whatever, it's because they don't want to be wrong. And if someone is trying to prove them wrong about something or fact check them, they inherently are going to feel like, okay, okay, this person's being condescending. I don't feel too good. I don't understand all this stuff. Why are they attacking me? Why are they rapping like Eminem right now and talking really fast? It's like, okay, I understand that for sure, but it's also, if you're gonna believe like Elon Musk is a prodigy Tony Stark figure, like many of them do, and he's just saying like, I think the woke mind virus is killing civilization, and we need to make sure that Doge comes in and fixes the foundations of our tech. I am a technologist. I build, and he never built a thing in his life, and it's just like, you see Elon Musk talk like 10 years ago. He spoke a lot like a liberal would speak, much more intelligently. Now he sounds like a dumbass because he knows his audience. So it's like, how do we combine? I think Obama probably spoke in a way that combines like, talking straight to people and being really like policy oriented. So it's a hard balance. I'd probably say like a mix between like Bernie and I don't know. I want more compassion in politics, but it just happens that the most compassionate politics fall into the group that you just said.
Hey. Yeah, and I would agree with that. I would definitely want more compassion in politics and stuff, because it gets exhausting just listening to all the fucking name calling, the back and forth chatter, and it's like children and the fucking.
But I feel like people are offended by that, though. They're offended by compassion, because compassion pulls people. Being compassionate will ask people to be better versions of themselves, so they feel attacked. Meanwhile, Trump is like, hey, you could be a shitty asshole. Like, fuck it. Like, we're having a good time, boys. We can say the bad words again. Guys. That's kind of how Trump is. He's the cool parent that lets you play Call of Duty on the weekends when you're 10.
Right. But I mean, that's pretty much every American, or most.
I know. It's like that's how I was when I was going between like my freaking when I was going between houses and custody battles. That's how I was when I was going, when I was like 12. I just wish we could have more mature conversations about this stuff, man.
Yeah, exactly. Because it is exhausting, and it's even like the trans stuff, the transgender stuff. Dude, most people that I know don't even care. Like the whole world doesn't even care. Like, be trans, be whatever you want to be. Just stop, shut up, and shoving it down our throats.
Okay, but that's an issue. See, when you say shoving it down our throats, Republicans post about trans issues around 50 times more than trans people do. Republicans force it to be a conversation to divide people. Republicans do it, though, and trans people get blamed. Another thing Republicans do to blame other people. Republicans cause this issue. They cause the racial division. They blame Obama for racism. They blame trans people for being anti-trans. They blame all these groups from the Republicans are propagandizing America to be like this. It's not Democrats, but Democrats are too wordy and academic to participate in the propaganda battle or to go on Joe Rogan, because they really do care about the facts. And Joe Rogan believes the polio vaccine is a biochemical weapon when it's the best invention, one of the best inventions in human history. So like, we need someone who understands that, but can also, and I think Bernie is an example of someone, but he's like 95 years old now. So we need like a younger version of someone that could just do straight talk and be really approachable with these things. So.
Right. But and I agree, but I feel like that comes from both sides, though. I mean, because it's up for debate, like the whole.
That's what she said.
because I mean, just like looking at the some of the activists and stuff that have been around Eugene, Oregon, and to Newport, Oregon, and some of the other places and stuff like that. It's like, why are you jumping on my car, smashing my window out when I agree with you? It's like, I'm tired of this. I just want to go to work. Leave me
Well, I don't.
alone.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's a little bit difficult because those people are literally just there to cause chaos. Even in Minneapolis, they charge people for crimes for burning down buildings and police precincts, and they ended up not like being right wingers, like Boogaloo Boys, like revolutionaries who just want to cause like race war. Not even the protesters were causing a lot of these fires. So especially in Oregon, I know you got a lot of those guys up there in Oregon. Like up there is definitely crazy as shit with Boogaloo Boys and some. That's probably the only place in the country with actual people who would consider themselves to be Antifa, because that's not even like a real thing in most of the world, except like there. So you live in the best place for all this stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's absolutely disgusting. I mean, and it's cost me. It's cost a lot of people that I know and stuff. I mean, we are in a fucking crisis. I mean, like we as a society, we all need to like, learn to communicate. Really together. We have to get on each other's level. We have to feel that empathy. We need it in the worst way, because we are all becoming like psycho sociopaths, with
someone donated PayPal or Venmo. Thank you so much for the donation. Initials KM. Thank you so much for the donation. It says Jolah for Congress, not a campaign contribution. See, that's good. You're paying attention to the legality. Thank you.
Right. So yeah, I don't know. It's just how I kind of wanted to just, to call you, perhaps to get a bit of insight and some education.
No, thank you for the call. And I will say, just like, I definitely understand. I have advocated for a long time for people on the left to talk in different ways that'll be more be received more by people. But I also need to say that, we need to be able to have some, at least really tough convos and things that make people uncomfortable, because that's why politicians lie, because they know they can get away with it if they just say a bunch of like generalities and point blame at whatever group or blame another politician or just make us fight each other. It's because if they talk about the policies, they're going to be laughed out the room because they're going to seem like a little dork that is a dumb YouTuber. They're going to talk too fast. They're going to be come off as unpleasant. That's why politicians just like the old thing: go kiss the baby, smile and wave, boys. Just smile and wave.
Right, and that could be said for like people like Ben Shapiro too. It's like dude, calm down. Like make if you want to make a point, then slow down so people can understand you. And I got to say the same for you too. Slow down. Because that will help educate the people that are lesser than you.
If my goal is to educate, I do. Lesser than me, holy shit. No, if my goal is to educate, I usually do slow down. But I'm in an extremely bad mood today.
Fair enough. But it's just like. I just think we all need to come to an understanding. It's like socialism.
There's a good
and
video
like
on my class. I have a video on my channel. I mean, a video called it's like conversations. Where is it? I think it's called Conversations Like This Will Save America. It only has 300 views, but that's a good example of an hour-long conversation with someone from the Deep South, talking about religion and race issues, where it's a really good conversation. But it's like, it is hard because I'm talking about real shit that's affecting real people around me. So, if you get any type of passionate about things in today's era, it's a sign of emasculine characteristics, because people want to have the stern face in their look because they think it's all macho to not have emotions. Although hiding emotions is the biggest sign you can't handle emotions. And like someone like Trump is the most insecure, pathetic little baby lotion hand up, whatever, in the world. There are some really good videos, and that's probably a symptom too, right? Because my videos that are very good, that are very really gentle conversations about real shit, they don't get views. They just don't get views. My videos that say like, do I regret my vote for Kamala Harris? 2,000 views. Conversations Like This Will Save America? 300 views, back to back. And it's just like it's just what the media atmosphere encourages. Thank you for the call, though. I do really appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, no problem, man. Maybe we'll talk to you again in the future, but. I just wanted some insight on some of my views, that I have here, and just things that I've witnessed around the world, because I've witnessed some pretty gnarly atrocities. I mean, from a guy getting killed in Dublin, California, which is right outside of Oakland. He was shot in the back and stuff. I mean, I've been called a racist in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, because I wouldn't give a guy $1 and stuff. There's been things in my life that I've noticed around me and stuff, and that's what's made me the person that I am today and stuff. And I'm very, like, I guess personality types. I'm kind of passive, to just let it go. I got other things to worry about in my life, and I just don't want all the bullshit. You know what I mean? And I could probably say that for a lot of other people too. And just the things that I've seen, like through media and so on and so forth. It's just like I feel like my head has been raped, by shit that shouldn't matter. When there's bigger problems. It's like the housing crisis. I mean, and where we are with that. I mean, it could be a Republican problem or a Democratic problem, but that needs to be solved. I mean, when you're looking at a 1977 double wide trailer on a 50 by 100 lot for $500,000, that's a fucking problem.
That's a deal.
That I mean, yeah, it's a deal. You're looking at a single wide mobile home in a park for $200,000-$300,000. I mean, what is going on? That's disgusting. It needs to end. It needs to stop. The Democrats, the Republicans need to pull together and say, hey, we're killing our fucking citizens.
See, that's the big issue, though, is that I'm not a communist or a socialist, okay, or I'm not even that far left, but that is an issue with capitalism. That is a capitalism thing. Capitalism does not. That's why when people say, like, run the government like a business, why would I want to run the government like a business? We made the government because businesses and private entities don't care for people. They care about money. They care about profits. They care about growing. And when we talk about government, we protect veterans. It would not make sense for a private business to protect veterans, to protect old people, to protect those with disabilities. We have government to protect rights. That would not make sense for the free market to handle. And that's the same for small towns. Small towns are not efficient unless if you're farming. Unless if you're doing something really niche that's needed for society. Small towns are very inefficient. Big cities are efficient. And if people make money from big cities, if people make money from industries, or from a job in government, whatever it might be, they want to live in suburbs. So then we end up having big cities and suburbs that are really expensive. The rural areas die out, and there's no jobs in those areas because the economy doesn't favor those areas. And right now, Medicaid and Medicare is a reason there's even rural hospitals, because without Medicaid and Medicare, patients being able to go to rural hospitals, those hospitals would not be able to sustain. And we actually have a lot of issues with rural areas not having hospitals, not having enough grocery stores, having really high prices. And the government needs to force companies to move there or incentivize them with taxpayer dollars. Or, like I said, have Medicaid, Medicare patients go there so they could actually justify having a hospital in a rural area. Capitalism, free markets do not care about people. Business owners want to pay you as little as possible and make as much money. Businesses don't just give you money for funsies. And so running the government like a business would only benefit the people at the top, because a business does not respect anything except the bottom line. And the bottom line is not going to include people in this country who are really struggling. Because it doesn't make sense for profits, and people need to reckon with that. And that's not saying capitalism's evil. It's a feature of capitalism. So we need to build something outside of that to facilitate capitalism, which is essentially what liberalism. And by liberalism, I mean just like a government like we have with basic regulations and a welfare state and some type of like social support. That's why we have these things to support the weakest among us. So we have a safety net for when capitalism decides to throw us to the side and spit us out like we're trash after we made the business owners a bunch of money. And see, like that message right there that I just said is probably, better than our entire conversation.
Right.
Thank you, Carly, for becoming a member. Thank you, Carly. Carly agrees. Thank you guys for all the donations and memberships and super chats. Jolah Politics on Cash App, PayPal, Venmo as well, or on Coffee. So thank you guys so much for the support.
Right. So, but basically what I'm saying is it needs to be figured out, and I think that like the issues of certain issues just need to go away, because we need to focus on some bigger issues and stuff like the whole transgender thing. I just wish people would just shut the fuck up about it. Just let people live their lives and stuff, and stop forcing it over our media, and everywhere you turn, everywhere you look, and stuff like that. I think it's appalling. Like the whole gay pride parades and shit where they got dildos flying on flags and crap. That's a presentation to our children, which doesn't need
I've
to be
seen
there.
gay parades and they have not had dildos flying out at kids. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I don't know. Hey, I don't know what kind of parties you go to, man. You must be at different parties than me.
Yeah, you've never been to Portland, Oregon, because there's a billboard that says "Keep Portland Weird," as you come into Portland.
Yeah, well, I have neo-Nazis too, and I have neo-Nazis marching through a town next to me. So
yeah, I think.
Hey man, I don't know what's worse: the gays, some radical gays with like skimpy outfits, or neo-Nazis. I'd probably pick the gays, to be honest.
The thing about it, I think that whole neo-Nazi thing is kind of out the window a long time ago. Kind of, at the end.
That's
of the
old
80s,
news.
Because it is old news and stuff, I mean, Portland is a very diverse place and stuff like that, but it's very open. I mean, there's more sex shops, glory holes in Portland than you could fucking shake a stick at. I mean, it's a gross place. Portland is disgusting. I mean, it is very gross and stuff. I mean, they have more strip clubs per capita than any other city in the
I will just
US.
point out that no one talked about trans issues. I said pronouns, but you talked about trans issues many times during this conversation. I think you might need to detox from the trans media that the right wing is making you be mad about. Okay, I actually need to go. I'm just gonna poison the well and
mad.
leave.
Okay, I'm not mad that people want to be trans. I'm mad because I have to see it all the time.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, I'm not mad that there's black people and biracial couples. I'm mad that I have to see the blacks all the time. It just sounds the same. It just comes across, and it is the same, to be honest. It's not any different.
Well, no,
I can be black somewhere else.
It's like, I don't care what people are.
They could be thugs somewhere else, dude. These thugs and DEI friends.
Well, see, this is what I'm saying. This is what you're doing. Now you're putting words in my mouth. You're putting thoughts in my head.
I'm just saying what you said, but with black people instead of trans people.
Yeah, I understand what you're doing, but what I'm saying and that I'm tired of is I'm tired of that being a pressing issue.
Yeah, but that's the Republicans bringing it up again. Yell at them. Don't yell at trans people.
Well, I'm not yelling.
Like, screw you guys.
See, you are saying that I'm yelling at trans people, and I'm not. And see, this is the problem that I'm having with communication. Is you're telling me that I'm doing something I am not doing, and I'm fucking tired of that shit. Because I'm not a racist. I don't care whether you're gay.
Well,
okay.
Like you don't gotta tell us you're not racist or not. Like just stop talking about it. It's fine. It's chill.
Well, you basically just
please
said
believe me.
I
am not racist. No, I'm just saying when you say I don't want to see that shit anymore. You literally complain about gay parades and like the reason and it's already such a small percent of the population. You can find anyone from any group to have as the worst example.
Are you a father? Are you a parent?
Well, only for the callers that try to talk to me, yeah, but not anyone else.
Say what?
Only for my callers, only for my viewers.
You're a parent only for your viewers.
Yeah.
So you lack capacity. Well, you're telling me you lack capacity to empathize with me because I have kids, and when I'm driving to work or I'm driving through town and stuff like that, and there's like people with like doing very risque things on the side of the road and stuff, and that's okay for my kids to see, and I shouldn't have a problem with that. I don't care what you do, what you are. Like I don't care what you are. You could be trans, you could be black, you could be whatever you want.
Yeah, but like I'll be honest. You know what a banana hammock is?
Yes, I'm aware of a banana hammock.
Hey man, I see a lot of if I go to a water park, there's a lot of old white guys with banana hammocks. I think it's kind of messed up.
Right, I understand that, but what you're not.
But anyways, someone donated and said, "Do you have any trans friends?"
Actually, I do. Actually, I do. Yes.
There's your answer. Thank you for the $10 Jolah fan account. Thank you.
But my trans friends will also say the same thing as I'm saying. It doesn't need to be presented.
Well, but we wouldn't just say like the thing is if we have like trans people who make up like less than 1% of our population, and we have like if we have even like a smaller percentage who are going to pride parades and doing really crazy stuff in Oregon or Portland, wherever, then I wouldn't just like bring that up as my main thing that I'm upset hearing about, because that's the right wing exploding that problem. Because I could say the same amount of people that I know who are literal skinheads and support Trump, and they don't shut up about race issues, and they blame Obama for racism. So it's just like, bringing that up all the time, it just seems like an insecure point, or it seems like something that makes someone really mad about something. Someone says legitimately need a banana hammock. ban the banana hammock. You want to ban the banana hammock. I should run on that. Ban banana hammocks.
Right, right. And no, what I'm saying is, I think there's, like, through our media and stuff, I think there's more, and this is for the Republicans too, and the Democrats on both sides all together. I think there's more pressing issues and stuff that need to be worried about than what is going on with 1% of our population. I think the
Yeah, I
general
agree.
people, the population, just need to leave other people alone and stuff. I don't care whether or not you're gay, trans, or I don't care what you are. I don't. I have no feeling against you. I'm not prejudiced in any way towards people. But the thing I am prejudiced against is like this brainwashing media, that is like, just pounding it. I mean, it's like you're a rape victim, from what they do and the things that the media gets fixated on and stuff. And it's like there's wars going on in the world, and you want to talk about transgenderism and stuff. It's like we need to talk about real issues. I mean, there's a housing crisis and stuff. Things are expensive. You need to knock this out, so we
Well,
can
that's what I
all
said
live.
about like
Because the transgender people can't afford a house just as much as I can.
yeah, that's what I said about Trump's State of the Union speech, because Trump went on about trans people for like 50% of it, and the other parts he was talking about like DEI and Joe Biden, and like 5% of it was the kid with cancer, but most of it was just
Right.
shitting on trans people. It's like he did not mention housing once, he did not mention healthcare once, he did not mention the economy once, except saying
Right.
I'm amazing, and it's like, yeah, that's an issue.
Right. Well, you got the the far right wing media too, like the View, for instance. That would just go on tangents and stuff, and just on and on and on about that. I mean, these are things that the average person watches, the average people watch every day and stuff. And it's like, how do we get it through these people's heads that's the least pressing issue that we have in our country or in the world, for instance, and stuff. I mean,
Vote out
people are.
politicians that only talk about that and don't actually solve things, probably.
I agree. Yes, let's vote out that shit for sure. So, and to be real with you, I didn't vote for Harris or Trump at all and stuff. I voted for somebody else and
You
stuff.
voted
But
for
like,
Oliver Chase. No, wait, Chase Oliver. You voted for Bill Stein. I don't know.
and I don't even know much about him, but I don't really like Trump. I didn't really like Biden because what I did see of Biden and stuff is like, to me, he was a blithering idiot and stuff. And that's what I got. I mean, just a
Well, at
personal
least he's a
view
young,
of what I
healthy
got.
man.
At least he's a young, healthy man, fair enough, and stuff. But it's like, why would we elect that? And why isn't there more people trying to get in? What it's like, why is this the dish that we're served? Why is it only these few people? There's so many other people that want to be candidates and so on and so forth. Like, why is this what we're bringing to it?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll see if anything ever changes. I don't have much hope. But yeah, thank you for the call. I hope you call in again. I'm gonna go to bed. I gotta travel tomorrow. I gotta drive like 5 hours. But yeah, thank you for the call. Have a great night.
All right,
Thank you
man.
for
Good
joining
talking to
us. All right, thank you. You too.
you. Bye.
Good one. Okay, guys. Thank you for the membership. Cheese Wizard. Thank you so much for becoming a member, Cheese. I don't know if you were before. I feel like you were. Thank you, Carly and Cheese, and Sri for the one gifted. Sri, I missed that. Hector to help the algorithm. We ended up having more of a viewership near the end. It got better. I don't know. We'll see. Who knows? Who knows, dude? He did say transgenderism, so that's a good thing. That's positive. Okay. Thank you for liking, subscribing, following, donating, all that kind of stuff. I will be not streaming in this capacity for a few days. I will be traveling pretty much until Wednesday. So this is my final stream doing this call-in show until Wednesday. Maybe it'll give time for my channel to reset, and I can come back and get some better algorithm luck. Coasties don't drive 5 hours for anything. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I have to drive over a mountain to get where I'm going and through tunnels and stuff. So going over the Appalachian Mountains, whatever. Ah, that's crazy. I really don't like Riley Gaines, bro. Riley Gaines is really annoying. Holy crap. He's so annoying. Jesus. Okay. Thank you. Does the algo reward consistent streams that are 3+ hours? No, they don't. Because if they did, then my stream would be doing a lot better. Because I was streaming for 4 or usually you can usually tell if it's gonna be a good night within an hour. Within 1 hour, you'll get a peak, and then you'll stay around that peak for a while. So if I peak to 200, I'll stay at 200. If I peak at 400, I'll stay there. But channels in general are growing pretty slow right now. I feel like YouTube is throttling a lot of political content. I'll try to keep everyone updated to some extent, but if I do a phone stream or a TikTok stream, I'll try to post something. I'll probably just try to make YouTube shorts as much as possible. I might take a microphone and record videos if anything big happens. Probably not. I don't know. No one watches my videos. Thank you guys. Good night. Have a good one. You guys Wednesday. See you guys on Wednesday night, okay? Make sure you join the Discord. Come in for a conversation. Thank you to all new subscribers. We're growing steady. Low and steady wins the race. It really is hard getting over. If someone is very insecure about not knowing things, it really is hard to present that issue in a way that's going to be. It really is like, oh, I don't know that. I don't like this person because they said something good. Oh, thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Lynn, for $10. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Be safe. I'll try. I'll try to be safe. Maybe. I'll think about it. I'll consider being safe. Thank you. The mods. Thank you, mods. Thank you. I think it's only Cam tonight. Are there other mods here? I know Epoch was here. I saw Epoch. Forget. Adam. Clean. I've McSree. There's Epoch. Right wingers are. Yeah, they don't want to talk about it because, yeah. Misgendering is a hate crime. Wow. Token gestures to placate the masses. That's the thing, though. Like, you need to do token gestures to placate the masses, or you can't get anything done. Don't die. It's super important. Did you see that Trump has a revolutionary program to get people to stop doing drugs? And that plan is to do advertisements that talk about how drugs are bad. Don't America drugs anymore. It's called DARE. Trump is doing DARE again, but with more funding. And he's going to sell all the ads to Fox News. That's how we're going to stop drugs in America. Thank you, Trump. Novel idea. Brand new. Starting, yeah. Thank you, Trump. Okay. Drop a like. Subscribe. Thank you guys for following. See you guys again in a few days. Lots of protests. Yeah, see you guys again on Wednesday. Wednesday. Unless if I do a random. Yeah, Trump created DARE again. If you can't see it, it doesn't exist. I'm colorblind. I can't see race. Duh. People that see race are actually racist. They're the racist ones. Okay. Pretty bad idea, not gonna lie. Yeah, he's gonna spend taxpayer dollars on that bullshit. Crazy. See, even it's wild. Hopping between streams. Yeah, I see Epoch. I saw Epoch. I always see Epoch in the chat making people mad. I love it. Especially when the topic of like anything to do with gender or race comes up, I see Epoch making people super mad in the chat. And they get triggered. They really do. Thank you, Rita. Thank you for the $10. Thank you on Cash App. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, be safe. I'll try. I will consider. Like I said before, the more donations I get, the Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal, the more I consider being safe. The more I'll consider it. Not campaign contribution. That's hilarious. Okay, guys. Thank you for all the support. Trump has lowered fentanyl. How would I know? Ugh. I mean, fentanyl was coming through legal ports of entry from American citizens mostly, so I don't even know what the numbers are. The fentanyl was, under Biden, we had the biggest decrease in fentanyl of all time, I'm pretty sure, under the last 6 months of his presidency. So it was already decreasing. I don't know what Trump is actually going to do to help addiction in America. That's a whole other conversation. Okay. Just asking questions. That's how you get them mad. You just ask questions. If you ask questions, you know, they have to they have to start thinking, bro. And yeah, if you make them think, they get mad. Like if you make them think about something deep, they get real pissed. Like the guy said multiple times, he was RAPED because of the news. He said it feels like I'm getting RAPED'd. It feels like I'm getting sexually assaulted because I'm being forced to think about these tough topics. He literally said that. And it's like, okay, like you might have to How can I call someone soft? You say I'm not soft, and then it's like, dude, if I even hear about racism or race, I'm gonna cry. I don't know. I don't know how to deal with that. Thank you guys. Have a good night. For starters, he closed the border, dumbass. You don't even know what the Oh god. Late. There, I got it out of the way. Should be good till Wednesday. Shut up. When they need to actually articulate it. Yeah, and then they get more mad. If they say it out loud and you prove them wrong, then they get real mad, bro. They get real mad after that. If they say it out loud and it's like, hey, what you said was like completely wrong, they get pissed. They'd rather be wrong and crash your relationship with them rather than just admit that they're wrong. I don't know. Okay, see you guys Wednesday. Have a good night. Thank you again. Yes, like Cam said, thank you for supporting independent media, guys. Yep, thank you guys. Have a good one. Also, one more thing. I know I keep on saying that. Last thing I'll say, there's a lot of people that watch this channel who are tapped out from politics. Even like the main people over the past few months that were here for every single stream, they just don't like watch anymore. So we do have that issue too, where we don't have like a huge like consistent viewer base other than you guys. We'll see. We'll gather more troops. It comes in waves too. People want to take breaks from talking about politics. I understand it. You can't talk about politics 24/7 like me. I understand taking breaks. Everyone takes breaks with their media consumption and tries different things. I get it. Okay, have a good night, guys. Thank you.